Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to our review of Knives Out with the boys Connor.
Hello.
And Benny.
Hi there.
I should say spoiler review here. Well, Rian Johnson sure did fuck up Star Wars, didn't he?
Ruin Johnson, more like.
Oh. Why didn't you tell me that before?
Yeah. He could have stolen that joke.
Save it
That
for
spray
myself.
painted all over my house. No, I actually was one of the few that actually really liked The Last Jedi. But Rian Johnson is back with a vengeance. He has his knives out. He's ready to make a statement. It's been 2 years since The Last Jedi.
Wow.
I actually listened back to The Last Jedi commentary as a podcast. So on Disney Plus, it's got the commentary there, and I just
That's cool.
chucked in some headphones. And you know, this was pre the movie coming out, and Rian Johnson was like, "Oh, I wonder what people are going to think about this." He says it about 3 times during it, and I'm just like, "Oh, Ryan,
Ryan.
get ready." But here we are for Knives Out. Rian Johnson coming to flip the mystery, the whodunit on its head. We got a stellar cast here. I was really looking forward to this, so much so that I didn't actually even watch any trailers. So hey, welcome to our spoiler review of Knives Out. Let's move on, George. Let's get into this. Let's get into this.
We
Stop
didn't say
talking.
anything.
And before our spoilers, let's just catch up on how everyone was feeling going in. As I said, I didn't watch any trailers for this because I just wanted to go in clean as a whistle. Benny, I think you fell into that camp as well.
Yes, so I saw one trailer, the first trailer that I think we reviewed on the podcast, and then I wrote the notes each week for the show, and I just left every subsequent trailer out of there because I didn't want to see any more. And there's not that many movies I do that for, but obviously when you're dealing with something that is not only a mystery, but something that is probably trying to push that further in its own way, like a mystery, like I just wanted to leave it alone because I really do like Rian Johnson. Looper was the first one I saw of his, which I absolutely loved when I caught that in cinemas. I eventually got onto Brick, which I loved as well. The Brothers Bloom, I don't remember whatsoever. I don't think I liked it very much, but I got to give that another go because Last Jedi rolls around and that one blew me away. That's one of the strangest experiences of my life is how much I liked that movie and then seeing how much everyone else had
Hated it.
opinions on it. It's divided, but yeah, that was disheartening after how much I enjoyed it personally. I wish everyone kind of got the same thing out of it. But yeah, I was very excited to see him doing something with a lot less baggage. So I was very excited going
Hey,
into
the
this.
whodunit genre has as much baggage as the Star Wars fan base, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Agatha Christie fans, forget about it.
Connor, how are you feeling going into Knives Out, bro?
Yeah, I've just kind of put all my faith in the cast. Like I like pretty much everyone in that.
The boy from It, Michael Shannon, other people,
The girl from Blade Runners,
the girl from 13 Reasons Why.
James Bond, and Captain's Americas who joins us.
There we go.
Yes, that
Knives
was
Out.
that's surprisingly close to my internal monologue. That's actually how I think. In this,
That was you thinking out loud.
yeah,
actually your
that wasn't
ear.
actually you guys
Sorry,
talking.
actually, with such an A-list cast going into this, I'm like, ooh, Don Johnson from Watchmen.
But you know, I was really fascinated to see. I remember I have a vivid memory of watching the Clue movie that had the alternate endings at the end, and as opposed to in the middle. And you know that kind of sparked this fascination for the genre,
Possibly the best board game movie ever made.
possibly.
Yeah. Battleship is up there,
He's
obviously.
up there, yeah, with
hate
in the
you
running at
guys
least.
sometimes.
I actually got a kick out of Battlefield.
Did you say Battlefield or Battleship just then?
Whichever one, I don't know. Battleship, that's what I meant to say.
We should do a
The
debate.
Rihanna
Not right
one.
now. We should do a debate one day. Which is worse, Battlefield LA or Battleship?
Oh,
It's Battlefield LA, actually. Anyway, carry on.
yeah, that was
right
quick.
answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really interested because there's a marketing ploy, and it's such a marketing ploy, but it got me, which was that he's flipping the genre on its head or something like that. And I was like, I'm actually really interested to see how he does that. Like if that's the remit, if that's what they're trying to do, how are they going to do it? And now in my head, I was thinking like, I love those kinds of films, right? Like I love Cabin in the Woods as this deconstruction, kind of flipping the horror genre on its head.
Subverting expectations.
Yeah, ooh.
Everyone loved it for The Last Jedi.
And yeah, I was actually a fan of The Last Jedi. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of valid criticism of that film, but as a whole, I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, going into it, I was quite excited. I was looking forward to this film.
I think Looper was the first Rian Johnson film I saw. Absolutely fell in love with that film, and I think that's his whole MO is flipping the genre on its head. That was his, this is time travel on its head. Brick, it's like the film noir genre on its head. A teenager or a college student, he wants to play with it. He's a playful filmmaker, and in Knives Out, he's done a comedy kind of thing, which is something I wasn't expecting, which is quite interesting. And just going in, I really love Rian Johnson. I just want him to succeed. I was quite devastated when The Last Jedi, didn't get the same reception that I got for it and I had for it. And I thought, he really gave it a good crack and it's nice to see him away from that and doing what he needs to do and flexing his nose muscles and the shackles are off. So let's get into the spoiler review of Knives Out. In terms of, I think really, if we're talking spoilers, the first thing that comes to mind here for me is, the exposure to information. So in the whodunit genre, we get the sort of the Agatha Christie ending with the big reveal and how it all ended up. We're getting that at the midpoint or even earlier in this film.
I'd say, yeah.
And I love how they set up the premise, because the premise is not to find the murderer for most of the film. The premise is how do we let the murderer get away with it?
And that
is cool.
It's like a massive twist.
Yeah. At the beginning.
And not cheesily done, like sophisticated, pushing the genre to different places. It's not about, we know who did it. We know how it all unfolded.
We think we do, yeah.
Not to mention the other aspect of that twist, for me at least, was that the protagonist is Ana de Armas's character, which I don't know if she figures into the marketing at all for this movie, really. She's on the posters and stuff, but Daniel Craig is going to be the big guy, but then she's kind of the main figure of this.
Chris Evans is heavily featured, which, he doesn't show up in the film with like actual speaking lines until like halfway through at least.
Yeah. I thought Daniel Craig was going to be the protagonist here. I thought
which in a lot of ways he was.
But I thought Ana de Armas was probably more so.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I wasn't expecting that, and I really thought she was fantastic. I've loved her since Blade Runner 2049, and I think she got to do something a little less like, I'm the cute sexy girl, and I'm, she had a really interesting character arc, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the whole cast. The whole cast was just amazing.
If we're just going to go back to that the whole premise thing, that this is Rian Johnson's, I'm flipping it on its head type thing. With the initial when you basically see the scene where she kills him, what were your guys' thoughts when that was happening? Did you guys believe? Like, did you guys think that this was her telling a fib, or like what was the thought process?
I was, what when you're watching that and you're seeing it's in her mind, at the end, once it all wraps up, that whole sequence, I thought to myself, okay, we know exactly what happened. And then maybe about 20 minutes later, half an hour later, I sort of thought to myself, okay, how can we, what about the unreliable narrator?
That's exactly what I was about to say, because there was a scene where they did pretty much when they put the cake in front of the grandfather, and in one scene it was like Michael Shannon in there, and then the next scene it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And it was the same scene, told in two different ways. So there was this, and that was before you saw Ana de Armas kill the old man, and it was kind of this sense of like, all right, so what you see in these flashbacks is not necessarily the truth. It's subject to who's telling the story.
Yeah.
So when you see
the Rashomon effect, which he used in The Last Jedi to such great effect, and one of my favorite components of that film, going back and seeing things from different people's perspective, he did that. like unbelievably well in this, and I was just so entertained in those scenes.
Yeah, so like we said, that comes early on when you see that it wasn't a murder, but she was heavily involved in his death. I was highly suspicious of her for
Really?
most of the movie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know, I was just in a very twisty movie.
Yeah.
Like I
Okay.
never really do this. I'm pretty much a sucker when it comes to movie narratives. I kind of just sit there and let it wash over me. But with this one, I was really just couldn't stop my mind exploring every
Yeah.
single avenue that
See,
this could go in.
I'm the exact opposite of you, which is that I'm always. I don't know whether I try to, but like it's just one of these things where like I'm always trying to figure out what the twist is, what the, where it's gonna go. And I tried to do what I did with you, George, last time we watched one of these films, which is like I tried to tell my fiance what the answer was, and I was like, "Oh, can I tell you what's going on? Like what the reveal is?" And she goes, "You may fucking not." I was like,
Nope.
"Well then." But I thought it was incredibly bold because the big reveal in this, the big twist, is something that is actually stated quite early on in the film by the character that is being murdered. The grandfather actually gives you the answer, and it, like, for me, I was like, that was incredibly bold because the answer was right in front of the audience the entire time. And did you guys at any point think that was what happened? Like the big reveal of like someone had actually switched them out?
To be honest, my only criticism with this film was that I felt like the second reveal in the back half was quite underwhelming.
Really?
And I thought the whole film was just so expertly put together, but the label, changed, but the viscosity of the liquid, she was aware of that. So she actually did inject him with the right thing and he did kill himself. It was interesting, but to be honest, it didn't quite hold as much weight to it as some of the other things that happened prior in the film. So it almost felt like it kind of gassed out. But that's a lot of the time what happens with these Agatha Christie things. It's once you do find out how it all happened, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it whittles down all of the multitude of possibilities into one generally quite contrived
and it is
thing.
all about the journey. I know that sounds really lame, but it is all about the mystery and uncovering the mystery. So that was my only criticism, because I think this film is just so expertly put together.
So what I got out of this that I don't usually see in this genre, the thing that really surprised me about it, beyond any kind of plot machinations, was the whole point, the whole thrust, the thesis of the film was that this girl came out on top because she wasn't playing any of these games. She was just a good person.
Yeah.
And she won the day because she was like pure of heart and a great nurse and a fucking hero. I'm like, that's amazing. That is so cool. And that was really surprising to me to see that it all kind of really expertly fall into place that way.
It's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how they actually state this. I think Daniel Craig actually says this, which is that you didn't play the game that the old man wanted you to play in order to get away with this.
She did it her way.
You did it your way, and that was to be a good person, and that was what got you through this.
Yeah.
Which I agree. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a lovely little twist on this as well.
And a wonderful message. She completely screwed herself by
So many times
trying to save that other woman who was
Well,
dying.
she screwed herself several times, and it was just kind of this. Watching it, you saw it spiral out of control. She made the error of taking the turn before, and again with that unreliable narrator of like, you're meant to take it before, or is it after? I can't remember. Like that all I thought was great.
fantastic.
Be
Yeah.
after 4.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. So I really liked seeing it unravel. And for most of the film, I was really enjoy watching it from the perspective of, I hope the murderer gets away, while also suspecting that she wasn't the murderer.
Yeah, I was unsure about how any of that, like especially when Benoit Blanc got more kind of clued in to what was happening, and he started acting in different ways. I'm like, where is this going? Like, is he the criminal? I just, all logic flies out the window at that point.
Well, yeah, because you know that it is going to boil down to this really like wildly contrived.
And
like-
something that isn't what has already been presented. Like it's going to be something crazy.
Although it was already presented
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
film, but like in this kind of bizarre way. So you're just trying to think of the most ridiculous kind of way to go. And for me, one of the main clues as to how this was going to end was just the heart-wrenching nature of it. I was like, it's too good not for them to take that path of like he was fine and he really did just kill himself.
Yeah.
Like that was just it was laid out so perfectly. As soon as she mixed up the medicine and he was like, how long do I have to live? My immediate thought was he doesn't have the poisoning and he's going to kill himself, and it's like he didn't have to, because that was the most heart-wrenching possibility, and I spent the entire film hoping that wasn't the case. But also like thinking like that's
I'm so glad I
probably
don't think that way. I love just letting the movie kind of just like
Yeah.
I'm in the palm of the movie's hand.
There's I mean, I think that there's a
You know,
trade-off.
obviously, if it's obvious, I'm going to
Yeah.
pick up on it. But in that instant, I'm not like, oh, this information means that it's going to mean
Yeah.
the opposite.
But I love
So
it, like
that's-
especially in this kind of film, because you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to be
Totally.
like, and there's
But
a really
I'm-
great thing when you're wrong. Like there's a lot of things that I thought about that film that I was definitely wrong on. But having said that, there is
You're-
nothing
you're-
quite like a good, like a genuine out of left field surprise. And for me, one of the times that I distinctly remember it watching it in Crazy Stupid Love, which is like there's a surprise in that is so out of left field, and it's such a perfect, just like slam in your face that I totally get where you're coming from. Like I get where that like when you don't try and solution it, you're just taken away from the story, and something happens.
Well, I think maybe you put your finger on what I was trying to say with my criticism, which is that it was done in a really nice, tightly wrapped bow, and maybe something that just came completely out of left field is what I was kind of hoping for. And I was underwhelmed by, oh, wow, it fits really together with fantastically well within the structure and the narrative, and it's all neat and tidy, but with how much you surprised me along the way, is that where, oh, okay, that's where we ended up. Cool, fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of front loaded in surprises, because I'm not saying it's predictable. I didn't see where it was going specifically, but what happens is not terribly surprising. It almost surprises you by playing into what you'd expect to happen.
Exactly.
That was the only thing that I felt was a bit underwhelming, was not that he had been murdered by the switch, but who was to blame. Because it almost felt like they did a double ruse on you. They made him to be the most obvious candidate for the murder. Then they were like, psych, he's actually kind of a good guy. And then they said, psych again. No, you were right the first time, he's the bad guy.
Yeah, and it just...
And that I didn't quite see because it didn't feel as shocking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little expected. I also found the whole she cannot tell a lie thing a little contrived, like just a weird plot device that was maybe just necessary to get across that we can trust what she's saying, or perhaps we can't, and that'll be a twist, kind of a binary thing there. But yeah, it was odd. It's a very strange little
but
thing.
I mean, in a world
made it
where
work, I
a
felt.
whodunit is an actual thing, I'm kind of
yeah, where there are gentlemen detectives.
like I'm like, okay, well, this is obviously not the real world. Like she ran from the police, but they were like totally like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like he made you do.
Someone else
like,
confessed. It's fine.
Yeah, like
there was a
that kind of
high-speed
thing.
chase, but whatever.
I think a huge part of the success of this film rests on two key components. One is the script that Rian Johnson has put together, including these very, very well-formed characters with very, very strong motivations. You know, in a film of 130 minutes, I knew these characters all extremely well, and the performances on top of that script, incredible. I thought this cast absolutely nailed it. I don't think there was any weaknesses. And I actually also really have to give a massive shout out to the costume designer. I thought the costumes in this, each character was very distinct from the last, and they felt very individual. But they also wrote this really clever line of making it almost like these costumes could have been, these clothes these people are wearing could have been from 100 years ago. In the silhouettes, in the presentation, in the setting of this house, like he lent into that Agatha Christie thing so I really loved the all those things together just worked so well for me, and really showed how fantastic and how Ryan Johnson thinks about the way he presents these films.
How'd you like Daniel Craig? We haven't really spoken specifically about him. I thought he was so much fun in this.
I really enjoyed him.
You know, the whole movie, I was thinking like, who the fuck does he sound like? It's Kevin Spacey's character in House of Cards. He's got a very similar, like it's got its
Drawl.
own thing, but it's the drawly kind
Don't
of
ruin the
Southern.
movie, please.
I love the call out by Chris Evans where he's talking like he's like making fun of his accent. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, that's brilliant.
What a fantastic character.
Well, look, all of them. I think that the entire family is so. This is a weird way to put it. Is so deliciously, like, just terrible that you enjoy watching them tear each other apart,
Yeah.
and like there's some
Yes.
kind of like savage, glee you get out of like
100%.
seeing them not get anything in the will when they all like turn around and they all turn like vicious. They kind of show their true nature. You're like, fuck, I knew
They're
it.
just
I fucking knew
Demonic
it.
creatures.
Yeah,
I mentioned a show a few episodes back, Succession.
yeah.
Which is so similar in
It's an HBO
part of
show?
in some of its premise, which is
yes,
a bunch of a whole family kind of squabbling for the favor of the patriarch who owns this unbelievably huge media empire. And watching this really made me want to get back into that. I'm like a season behind, but
I loved. There's a catharsis that I felt at each moment where he was cutting one of his kids loose. I thought that was, or just fixing things.
It was so satisfying, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
Christopher Plummer, he's just so majestic.
Yeah, fucking majestic
actor.
man.
he's actually playing younger too. He's like 4 years older than his character was.
Oh
in this.
yeah, I like.
It's hard to believe that guy was in the fucking Sound of Music. Like he's like
crazy.
the last part of old Hollywood still
Was
around.
it like 14th century or something?
yeah. It was a play.
Yeah,
It was an opera.
Yeah.
Just a little pan flute song.
It made it so much worse that he was the murder victim because the scenes where he was alive, he was so likable. Like his interactions with Ana de Armas were just fucking heartwarming.
It was so
Yeah.
real and so human and not creepy. You know, it could have gone. You see, Ana de Armas with the old guy. It's like, oh, it can go down a lot of creepy roads,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it kept it platonic. It kept it,
Wholesome.
wholesome.
Yeah.
I thought that
Majestic.
one of my favorite moments was with Michael Shannon. And Christopher Plummer's like, you're done, boy.
Yeah.
And he slaps him on the face and he's like, you're fired.
Yeah.
And I was just like, mic drop, motherfucker. Take that, son. That was so, it's just, it was just satisfying as fuck.
You should watch Succession if you like that. 'Cause
Satisfying
the
as
whole
fuck.
show is that shit.
Oh my God. I just, and Michael
think it's
Shannon
'cause-
was great. Michael Shannon was fantastic.
Well, I was
A
gonna say
different
that
Michael Shannon.
Jamie Key Lourdes,
Live, little, little.
Jamie Lee Curtis, fuck it hell, was fantastic. I'm like I love her in just about anything. I think she's fantastic. But yeah, she was so strong in this.
I also really enjoyed Frank Oz as the beleaguered lawyer.
Yeah.
I was just so done with this fucking family. Good to see he's keeping
like,
up those Star
can I-
Wars connections.
well,
as
Can
well.
I go home now?
What was so great about that Ryan Johnson commentary was when Yoda turns up, he talks about his
You
interactions with
say
Frank
when
with-
Yoda turns up.
in The Last Jedi.
Oh right.
So at-
This-
well, that as well. That as
I thought you
well.
were like, when Yoda turned up.
What a twist.
But he talked about working with Frank Oz
Hmm.
and he has utmost respect for Frank Oz as a director.
Hmm.
They obviously really hit it off, and it was a great surprise.
Yeah.
I leant over to my wife. I was like, "Hey, that's Yoda."
Yeah, cool.
And when he's reading out the will, and it's just like matter of fact, like that's it.
Yeah. I love it when he's like, "Did you just Google that?" Like, just this kind of exhausted, beleaguered lawyer. Yeah.
Did you guys see
Did
at
yous
all? Did you guys see at all? Little friendo from It. What's his name?
Oh, the
Jaden
kid.
Martell.
The kid.
Yeah.
The alt-right kid. Yeah.
Little neo-Nazi incel troll. Was that Ryan Johnson giving a little fuck you to Last Jedi haters?
No, I think what I got out of that
Because
was
if it was, I think that was fantastic.
no, because he also had the fucking SJW warrior. Like what I think was great about this is they all felt real, but they also all felt like cartoons, like kind of caricatures of that. So
I mean,
like,
yeah, you had like Gwyneth Paltrow in there with Goop.
yeah, and you had
Collette
like
character.
the guy making political commentary on the other side, and like they were both as ridiculous as each other. And you got the one kid that's far on the SJW
Yeah.
thing, and you got the
They were
one kid
fully
that's
formed characters. They
yeah,
didn't
but
necessarily
were
feel
also-
real.
They were also caricatures.
Yeah.
like they were kind of
It's
putting
that-
a mirror to society, man, and
and it fits that whodunit genre,
Yeah.
like the different personalities, the different
the
looks.
tropes.
Yes, they're all
The-
very individualistic.
Do you feel the kind of political commentary coalesced into anything worthwhile? Because it felt a little half-baked to me. I don't think it really...
To me, it felt more like just exposing how shitty families are and like family interactions, because those are the kind of conversations that always come up when you get together with family, particularly with family members that have different views on things. And like it's always like, when they're like, oh, don't answer that, or like, oh, don't like just, and there's that one drunk uncle that's like, let me fucking tell you about whatever, and you're like, so I
Are you
I
that
don't
guy
think-
at the family gatherings, Connor?
sorry,
He
Are you
totally
the
is.
drunk uncle at family gatherings?
I'm the drunk everything at family gatherings.
He's turning into it.
I
It's a 20-year process.
Mate, this like I
gonna be like
was
the end
there
of The
like 5 years
Irishman.
ago. I'm
If a movie conversation starts happening, that's me, definitely.
yeah. But like it's I didn't really take it for any kind of political thing. They all he did was take talking points on both sides, some of which are like just utterly ridiculous, and pit them against each other. And it was just like holding up and saying, this is what shitty families, or everyone's family, whether they're shitty or not, do when they get together, when they're forced to spend time together.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can evoke that kind of conversation. And they got pretty specific about what they were talking about. And just given the racial dynamics of the characters involved, it feels like, and again, dealing with a controversial director, as silly as that is, because he made a Star Wars movie, but I don't feel like that was unintentional or that he wasn't trying to say anything.
But
What do you think he was trying to say?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what he was getting at with,
But see, that's
with
my
that
point.
stuff.
He didn't really make like all the commentary. If anything, I think that he was pointing out how ridiculous people's political commentary is, because it's all just nonsensical talking points that people don't really understand. Like the main conversation that I think you're referring to was between Watchman dude, what's his name?
Don
Don
Johnson.
Don Johnson and
Oh yes.
Tony
Collette.
Sorry,
Tony Collette.
Tony Collette. Yeah. That interaction. Neither of them were particularly likable characters. Neither of them were made good political points. So he wasn't championing. I can't speak today. It's
Correct.
fucking disastrous. He wasn't saying one was better than the other. He was just saying like, look how fucking ridiculous it is when family gets together that have different viewpoints and they say ridiculous things to each other and everyone else gets caught in this awkward, and it's I don't think he was trying to make necessarily a political point, more that conversation is usually a bit useless.
Did you? I think something that really stood out to me about this film that I should have expected a bit more was the comedy aspect. It's a really funny film.
Oh yeah.
It's a very entertaining. It's almost lighthearted. It definitely, when those moments, when that scene where oh, she fucked the medicine up, like my heart was racing, man. Like it got tense real fast, and I was
Yeah.
fully in the moment. But there's a lot of push and pull with this film, and I thought it was very, very successfully done, and it makes the whole thing whisk along effortlessly.
I thought Don Johnson was hilarious in this.
He was one of my favorite characters.
Some of those lines, that "Pachaw!" like fucking fantastic.
Just that one like editing gag where Jamie Lee Curtis is like, "You're not going to goad me
Yeah.
into like spilling shit about the family," and it cuts right
Yeah.
to him just being like, "Oh,
But
let me
yeah,
tell
of
you about all
course.
this." Yeah.
It was fantastic. Yeah, I thought he was played really well.
What a fucking great career renaissance he's having.
I know.
After
yeah.
being like a guy from Miami Vice,
Yeah.
he's killing it.
He's doing really well.
What else? Anything else, fellas? Any negatives? We've talked. Well, I've given my negative. I thought the twist ending at the end.
Yeah, I liked the twist ending. I didn't quite like the twist of it being Chris Evans because I felt like that was almost. I don't think enough was done to justify the switch back. That's the only thing that I kind of felt was in any way not up to scratch of the rest of the film. Like that was the only dip I felt.
Yeah, I don't have any other negatives per se. Maybe just that it was fairly hyped up, this movie, and I think it was quite good.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't blow me away or anything.
Sorry, just to mention one other, because we were talking about the comedy aspect. What did you guys think of that final stabbing scene?
Well, he did that. And again, he talked about in the commentary a Brian De Palma technique where Brian De Palma stretches out moments. You know, you keep cutting back and forth to slow-mo, and they did that in that moment. And then it really sums up the whole movie, doesn't it? The subversion of expectation.
Yeah.
It's like the big fanfare, the big build-up, and then it's like, that's so appropriate, and I really loved it.
And they set it up brilliantly.
Yeah,
It's a simple line.
I couldn't quite recall the relevance of what Christopher Plummer had said about the prop.
So he said that
weapons. What did he say?
he wouldn't know a prop from a real knife in the sense that he's so sheltered. Like he's never had to really work for anything, that he doesn't understand the real world. Which is it's such a wonderful. Like, he lives in his own fantasy world where this like it's a game to him. And if he had to actually do anything that required any substance, any courage, any grit, that he wouldn't know what to do, which is exactly what happened. Like, you know, he went to go kill her and didn't know the prop from the real thing.
Yep.
But yeah, such a fantastic little final subversion. If there's any kind of twist that I really loved, that was it.
I just thought that was like the cherry on top. That was like, that's the film in one little scene.
Yeah.
One little moment. Would you guys want to see another outing with Benoit Blanc? You know, maybe we could get a bit of an anthology going.
It's tough.
I think just every third movie that he does, he should do that accent. Because we had Logan Lucky, which is pretty much the same deal.
Yeah.
Just keep doing that. Actually, make the next Bond like that. Go for it.
Benoit Bond.
I reckon they could get him on for another 3 movies if they're like, you can do like Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, he's like,
Okay.
I'm there.
They can not stirred.
But no, I'm not particularly interested in seeing another Knives Out. I feel like this was such a well constructed and just like a little present that I'd be worried of diluting the water with something that doesn't hold up to that standard.
Yeah, Rian Johnson's definitely one of those directors. I like to see him keep moving on and doing different things.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean, Ben. It's like, this didn't blow me away, but it was a really nice outing. I went with my parents. I've always watched murder mysteries with my mom. I knew they were going to love it, and it was just like a nice little outing, a little matinee feature.
Yeah.
That was really satisfying and well put together. Cinematography was great. It just came together fantastically well. A little bit underwhelming towards the end, but overall just a fantastic piece. I think it'll be in my top 10, but it won't be high up. It'll be in the back half.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think it must be an embarrassment of riches this year if I don't think this will be anywhere near my top 10, because I really do think this is an accomplished film.
For me, I hate it when the marketing is right, just because I feel like I've been suckered in somehow. I hate it when the marketing's wrong too.
I hate marketing.
Yeah, I do. I feel like someone's trying to manipulate me, and I'm like, I won't be fooled. And then they're right. Then I'm like, you fooled me twice.
I like marketing.
It's my job.
Paying for the roof over my head.
No, I mean, yeah, fair call. No, but like one of the major marketing pushes for this was, do you remember when the movies were fun? And it's such a gotcha, like, you know, as if movies aren't fun. But I totally get why they were saying that.
Fucking get over it, you wet blanket.
No, I'm saying it was fun. Like that's my thing. Like this for me was not a tour de force. Like this wasn't Irishman, or this wasn't Avengers Endgame, which is like, Avengers Endgame was like such a...
It was jaunts to the cinema, isn't it? It's not a big epic.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying Endgame was like, Endgame's this massive production.
Yeah.
With, there's like so much invested in it. And The Irishman is like, you have to take 3.5 hours out of your day to like be immersed in film. And you know, it sometimes feels as though we we don't get enough films that are just good films with low consequence that you come out of thinking like, that was just a fun time. Like, I don't feel like I had to learn anything particularly insightful or watch 20 films to be able to enjoy this. This was just, in and of itself, a fun film. And I was like, fuck, the marketing guys got it right on that one. So well done, marketing.
Bastards.
Well done, marketing. So no Knives 2 out? Or 2 Knives out?
2 Knives, 2
I
out.
sincerely
2
hope
Knives
not.
2 out?
No, thank you.
Fuck you guys.
Do you want to
Let's go
do you
right.
want to see another one?
I would love to see more of Benoit Blanc. Like, none of the same characters. See ya. Maybe not next film though. I do agree with you, Benny. I want to
Do you
see what.
think with
I'd love
Ryan
to see him
Johnson?
go back to. I'd love to see him go back to sci-fi and then do 2 Knives 2 out, 2024.
I'd love to see him go to sci-fi with Benoit Blanc. Why not?
Can we
Bring it on.
de-age him and re-age him? And
let's
he
get
could
him
be in
Let's
2079.
get him in the Star Wars universe. Who killed Snoke?
Who killed Snoke?
The answer, it turns out, was Ryan Johnson. He gets hanged at the end.
Did we see who killed Snoke?
Yeah, it was all
Fuck
illusion.
you, Snoke. Fuck you, Snoke. All right, that was fun. Knives 2 out. Bring it on. What did you guys think? God, I got something in my eye. God, it really hurts.
I feel like we've just spent the last 40 minutes saying what we think.
Just mumbling. I wasn't talking to you, bro. I was talking to everyone at home. Thanks for listening, guys. And let us know what you thought of Knives Out. We love hearing from you. Hit us up in the comments on the YouTube. And we'll be back next week for some movie antics with the boys Kana
See ya.
and Benny.
Bye.
Bye.